Folks, it's time to kick off win totals. The American League. Here's what's going to happen. I'm Jack. He's Peter. Aram isn't here. He's gallivanting through the state of Florida for the spring breakout stuff. But here's what's going to happen. We're going to go through every single total in the American League. Peter is going to pick a side over or under that win total. I have Aram's picks with me, so I will give you Aram's picks and a quick reason why. I will lay out the total and some notable transactions, just some notable pieces on that team. So I'll really tee up Peter to explain it. Again, I don't pick because I can't. Just Baseball show on Thursday, March 19th. Peter Apple, as always, is brought to you by whom?
BetMGM. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code JustBaseball when signing up, and you will get up to a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Just download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code JustBaseball. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. If that bet loses, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. And you know what March means? College hoops. Lock in for every game and make your March moment when you bet with boosted odds. Activate your odds boost token for any March Madness bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Here's how it works. Your March matchups odds boost token has already been dropped into your account. No opt-in necessary. Add a March matchups bet up to the specified maximum stake to your bet slip, then activate the token. If you win your bet with the token activated, you'll score extra winnings. Again, that's code JustBaseball on BetMGM.
Can I say a quick thing about the Rizzler?
If you need to.
His bracket's already smoked. I saw March Madness put it out. USF over Louisville? Really, Rizzler?
So there's a fun one that I do with my friends. It's like worst March Madness bracket. So the person who has actually the worst bracket wins, and you have to fill out your bracket accordingly. That is currently my best bracket.
Really? That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. So what's your deal? Like by the way, I'll keep you updated on Siena and Duke. I don't know if that game has gone final yet or not.
To be honest, I don't really give a shit. What I give a shit about is this episode. I absolutely love the win totals episode. Everybody should know that if you're a veteran of the Just Baseball show. To the veterans, thank you for joining us live here on YouTube. The best way to support the show. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. And if you're listening on audio after the fact, 5-star review would be very, very kind. Normally, so let me restart.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit disappointed that Arm's not also on here. I love when the three of us are throwing bets, or more Arm and I, because you can't. But there's also a silver lining. That means it's all on me now. It's all on me to predict the future for every team in the American League. And it's pressure that I welcome. I welcome it, Jack. I absolutely welcome it.
Yeah, so here's the deal. If you say something and make a stupid point, I can still refute it.
No, you can't,
that's
because
still
you
fair
can't
game.
Bet on it. No, that's not allowed anymore.
What are we
You're
talking
contractually
about?
obligated not to bet and to agree with everything I said. It was in the contract.
I don't think it was in that contract. Maybe a rework Just Baseball deal. I'm not sure. But again, I have Aram's picks, so I will give you what Aram is leaning, I guess, when it comes to the over-under win total on every team in the American League. We will do National League tomorrow. Without further ado, tell us how you and Aram did last year. This is year 2 of me not making a selection on either side of this.
So we kept up the trend, over 50%, and last year was one of our best years. I got 20 out of 30 over-unders correct.
Wow.
Aram was right on my tail at 19.
Wow.
So both of us well over 50%. The year before that, it was like 19 and 18. We have been crushing it. This is what we do. This is what we do. So welcome to it. The win totals episode, part 1. If you can hear it in my voice, I am incredibly excited.
Respectfully, you guys don't mean anything to me until you go 30 for 30. And at that point is when I will respect you. Only then is when I respect you.
Before we begin, I think it's important too, because we are going to be giving overs or unders on every team in the American League. Just because I say over or under doesn't necessarily mean you should be rushing to BetMGM to make that bet, right? I have released part 1 of my MLB futures. You can find them on our YouTube page. Those are the overs that I actually bet. Part 2 is coming, actually probably later tonight, of the unders. And then part 3 will be awards, long shots, stat leaders, player props, that kind of stuff. I have all of my win total projections ready. Some of them, it's razor thin, so I'm not going to have much of an opinion. And I will preface that with each team, whether I bet it or not. So right in the American League, I might only have 2 actual bets, but I am making a pick for every team in the American League. So just keep that in mind. A lot of them, my win total projections are pretty close to the projected line on BetMGM. So just wanted to preface that. Don't go running to BetMGM to bet all of these. Do your own research, but I'm trying to go 30 for 30. So what do I get? Do I win money or do I just get your respect?
No, you get my respect, which is, I think, more valuable than any monetary payment that I could give you.
How about this? If I go 30 for 30 this year, next year you have to agree with everything I say for at least 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
But you don't even have to agree. You have to, again, compliment me. If I go 30 for 30.
If you go 30 for 30, I don't think 2 weeks is good because that just torpedoes the show. Like, I think we need to keep the quality of the show where I can still disagree with you. But how about we do one episode where I just say, dude, that was so nails. You're handsome as hell and you know ball.
Actually, that's worth it. Yeah. If you add all that, I'll take it.
Okay. And I'll just do that for a whole show and it'll be good. And I'll brand it in a bunch of different ways. Like, I will put some serious elbow grease into making sure that you feel loved and respected over the course of that show.
That's all I'm asking for. One episode out of every 1,075 or whatever we're on now.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So we're not going to go division by division here. Instead, we're going to go highest win total line to lowest win total line. So I want to walk through it that way, where we've got a team set at 90.5, and then we've got one at 89.5, one at 88.5. So instead of going like Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Rays, Orioles, I want to go like Yankees, Mariners, Blue Jays, that kind of cadence. So we'll start with the New York Yankees. Their win total is set at 90.5 by our friends at BetMGM. Reminder, all of these lines are set by our friends at BetMGM. Let's make it legendary, folks. 90.5 for the New York Yankees. The Bronx Bombers have the highest win total in the American League. Reminder, I have Aram's picks. I'll give you the reason why Aram went a certain direction. But 90.5 for the Bombers. Where are you at?
Why don't you start with Arms? Let's get Arms out of the way, and then I'll agree or disagree based on what he said, and I'll add a little bit more color.
Okay, so yeah, because these are quick explainers.
Yeah.
Arm went under the 90.5 for the New York Yankees, and the reason was rotational health. Cole, Rodon, they're out for the foreseeable future, although Cole did just throw an inning in a ramp-up in a spring training game. And then he just kind of questions the overall depth and firepower of that lineup. 90.5, again, the highest total in the American League, so he took the under on that.
Yeah, my projected win total for the Yankees is 89. But I should also make it clear that that would make them tied for the 4th best team in Major League Baseball. So when looking at the Yankees during the regular season, it's really got to stink that there's no Garrett Cole, there's no Carlos Rodon, and there's no Clark Schmidt. Ryan Weathers was just announced to this rotation along with Luis Heel, Will Warren, Cam Schlittler, and Max Fried. When I name those 5, that doesn't sound like a team that would win 90 plus games. And then you also look at the bullpen. You really like it at the top with David Bednar and Camilo Doval and even Fernando Cruz, but it gets a little bit weaker. You need guys like Paul Blackburn to potentially break out. You need Jake Bird, the reliever that they acquired from the Rockies at last year's trade deadline, to step up. You need Tim Hill to continue to be consistent at 36 years old. And you need Ryan Yarbrough to spin valuable innings, considering that the starting pitching depth is going to be tested early, again without Garrett Cole, again without Carlos Rodon and Cam Schlittler. Now, the lineup is one of the best in Major League Baseball. That's why they deserve to be one of the best teams in baseball. But also, I think it's fair to ask at least the question, is Cody Bellinger going to be the same player that he was last year? Is Trent Grisham going to be the same player that he was last year? Now, you can reverse that and say, will you expect Austin Wells to be better? Can Ryan McMahon, now settled into New York, we know how good the glove is, but can he provide at least some offensive production? And can Ben Rice take a big next step in order to be one of the better hitters in the American League? Everyone has seen his Savant page. It is bright red. Batted ball metrics off the charts. Can Ben Rice step into potentially the second best hitter on the New York Yankees? So there's some ups, there's some downs. Ultimately, I'm going to trust my number here and take a slight under. Not a bet that I would recommend running to the window in order to bet, but based on my number, I am 1.5 wins shy.
What does a big step forward for Ben Rice look like beyond an 836 OPS last year? Do you feel like Ben Rice could be a 900 OPS guy?
I think it's in the cards because he has excellent plate discipline at the plate, doesn't whiff all that much, doesn't chase outside the zone all that much. And when he puts the bat on the ball, he's rivaling some of the top exit velocities from the stars in Major League Baseball. You add them all up, his Savant page looks a tad shy of Aaron Judge. Now, is he going to get to Aaron Judge levels? Of course not. I mean, it would be great for me as a Yankee fan, but I'm going to stick with that original point. Of course not. I also think there's more power in there, right? He was in the mid-20s in about home runs. I think he could increase that even higher. So I think a 900 OPS could be in his future next year. Now, that would be very bullish. That is a big jump from 836 to a 900 OPS. If he simply went from 836 to 875, that's a sizable jump and would make him one of the better hitters in the American League. So I think he ultimately does settle into that range around 850 to 900, probably 875.
Makes sense. All right, next team we got to talk about, the Seattle Mariners. Their over-under win total at BetMGM is set at 89.5. This team, I personally have said, believe is the top dog in the American League. Aram agrees. Aram has the over. And we kind of align on the thinking there, like Aram actually attaching an over to this and me just looking at this roster. It's pretty damn flawless. That rotation is still one of, if not the best in Major League Baseball. That lineup has gotten better with the bringing back of Josh Naylor and the addition of Brendan Donovan. And then the bullpen, adding Ferrer to that bullpen is nasty. I think they're flawless. Aram thinks they're pretty darn close to flawless, and that's why he went over 89.5.
I have them projected as the best team in the American League, but just a touch above the Yankees at 90 wins. So you said the win total is 89.5?
Yeah.
I'll take the slight over. I would disagree on flawless. And the reason I'm disagreeing on flawless is this was a pretty poor defensive team last year. Finished 26th in defensive value, 22nd in defensive runs saved, 27th in outs above average, and overall 26th in fielding run value. Now, getting Brendan Donovan certainly helps, but there still are some holes defensively on this team. And when you look at the bottom of the lineup, it lacks some thump. We'll see what Luke Raley can do in right field, the projected right fielder, at least for right now. Dominic Canzone at DH, J.P. Crawford at shortstop, Cole Young at second base. Now, what I will say is, all I was doing was responding to your flawless claim. I still have them as the best team in the American League, and it's in large part due to elite starting pitching. When you can lead with Brian Wu and Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo and George Kirby and eventually Bryce Miller when he comes back from his strained oblique, and they have Emerson Hancock in the meantime to fill innings as the fifth starter, and he made some marginal improvements last year. The sweeper was really, really good, saw a little bit of a bump in velocity. He is perfectly fine as a kind of stopgap until Bryce Miller returns, and they have an excellent bullpen led by Andres Munoz and Matt Brash. I think Jose A. Ferrer is going to break out for Seattle this year. He was, traded from the Washington Nationals in exchange for Harry Ford, Edward Bizardo, and Gabe Spire as your 4 and 5 guys, and even Carlos Vargas gave them valuable innings in the playoff last year. The pitching is fantastic. The Yankees, I believe, have the better lineup, but ultimately, all their pitching is healthy outside of Bryce Miller right now. And my model's going to love pitching. Who doesn't love pitching? You don't need a model to tell you that you like pitching. Yeah. Seattle has it. So right now, they are my number one power ranked team in the American League. I'm also going to give them the slight over.
Cool beans. The Toronto Blue Jays are next. The Blue Jays win total is set at 88.5. Aram has the under. This lineup is really good. Having said that, this lineup is without Bo Bichette, but they add Kazuma Okamoto, they bring Jesus Sanchez in, and they run back a lot of the similar cast of characters. The big add is possibly a full season from Dalton Varsho. This guy, if I'm not mistaken, hit 20 homers in 71 games last year. That's absolutely insane. The ding here and why Aram went under is a couple of recent injury updates. Shane Bieber will begin the season on the IL with a forearm issue. Seems like forearm fatigue. And then Trey Savage begins the year on the injured list with a shoulder impingement. So the opening day IL among starting pitchers for them, Barrios, Bieber, Yasavage, and of course Bowden Francis, who had Tommy John surgery. The opening day rotation projects as Gausman, Cease, Cody Ponce, who just came over from the KBO, Max Scherzer, who is back, and then Eric Lauer. Can that rotation be good? Yes. Is that rotation without Bieber and Yasavage? Yes. Is 88.5 a very high number? Yes. And with those two guys starting the year on the shelf and likely a slow build to them coming back, that's why Aram leads under 88.5.
So I'm going to disagree, but not in a way where I would disrespect Aram's pick. The Blue Jays win totals at 88.5. I have them at 89. So, again, I'm a half win over. I will trust my numbers, and I will take the over. So you mentioned that Shane Bieber and Trey Savage are going to miss some time, and it's certainly, obviously, important to note that. The thing is, how many innings did Shane Bieber give the Blue Jays rotation last year? Not many. How many did Trey Savage give them last year? Not many. And now they have a full season from Dylan Cease. And we have to remember, the Blue Jays went 94 and 68 last year while finishing 20th in ERA as a starting staff, 17th in WHIP. And I already see this rotation potentially being a step above of what it was last year. I've been watching some videos, more videos, I've seen plenty already, of Cody Ponce dropping Vulcan changeups that look like pitches that were dropped from a different planet. I mean, I think that this guy is going to be really, really solid. I think he's probably going to give them, 150 innings this year at a high 3s ERA, which is, again, better than what Jose Barrios gave the Blue Jays last year. I think Dylan Cease is going to be solid. I still really like Kevin Gausman. And Eric Lauer at this point, you can doubt him if you want, but this guy was excellent last year. And if Max Scherzer is giving you solid innings when he's healthy, and then those guys are going to start to return that you mentioned, like Barrios, like Bieber, like Trey Savage. And then the bullpen, again, it wasn't a great bullpen last year. They finished 16th in ERA, 14th in WHIP. And now they add Tyler Rogers. We saw how funky and weird he is in the World Baseball Classic. We've been watching for years as the 35-year-old has been funky and weird and making hitters look stupid for a really, really long time. You now have a full season of Louis Varland in that bullpen as well. Bullpen looks better. And the offense, yes, they do lose Bo Bichette. But like you said, you get a full season of Dalton Varsho. You bring over Kazuma Okamoto. Is George Springer going to put up a 950 OPS like he did last year? Probably not. Is he still going to be a really, really good hitter? Could Vladdy take that leap to be a true MVP candidate this year? I think so. I think this is a better roster on paper than they were last year. Yes, they've had some losses. Yes, they haven't been to the World Series in a long time. And more often than not, teams who get to the World Series that weren't expected to sometimes fall off. History might say Arm is right. I'm going to go the other direction. I trust this Blue Jays team. I would take the over.
Okay. You know what? You guys can agree to disagree. Again, I am just the mediator here. Let's go to the next team. Also in the American League East, the Boston Red Sox. Their win total is set at 87.5 by BetMGM. Aram has the over, which is interesting too. I'm sure a lot of Red Sox people, particularly Colby Olson, if he is going back and listening to this, but the reasoning is in large part because of the lineup and 1 through 9, how they can pose problems, like Durbin as an addition, Meyer playing second base full-time, Rafaela playing center field likely full-time is a big one. And then the rotation, too. That rotation, and this is from my perspective, is deep and improved, man. A front three of Garrett Crochet, Sonny Gray, and Ranger Suarez. Brian Bayo is no slouch, and then Oviedo is certainly a breakout pick. And you also have Tolley and Connolly early as irons in the fire here. That rotation depth is awesome. You bring Chapman and Weissert back as well. Arm has the over. I understand why he went there.
I do too. And for me, this one is all about the number that we were given at 87.5. I really like the Red Sox this season. I think Aram makes a lot of really good points. I think the rotation is deep. I think that the bullpen is going to be really solid. I think they're a good defensive team. I think they have a balanced lineup. But I'm under by a half win. My win total projection for them is 87. And I think to myself, why am I a little bit lower than the market if my brain is telling me that the Red Sox are going to be one of the better teams in the American League? And they are that based on my win total projections. But I think I can understand because I look at the lineup and I think it's balanced, but I think it's missing that top end stud. And I don't mean to poke holes or reopen any old wounds with Rafael Devers. That is not my intention. But when you lose Alex Bregman and you lose Rafael Devers, and your replacement is Wilson Contreras and Caleb Durbin, I think the offense is going to struggle a little bit more than people might think. Now, they finished 9th in OPS last year. That might come down a little bit, right? I'm hoping Trevor Story can stay healthy all year, which he did last year. Roman Anthony at 22 years old. Again, he could take this leap into superstardom or just take a gradual leap like a Wyatt Langford did last year. Right? Wilyer Abreu. Again, I think he's solid. I think he's going to take another leap. I got nothing for you there. Jaron Duran, I think, is solid. I think he's going to be giving you a lot of what he's already given you this in his career, which is an above average hitter. But then Rafaela, we'll see how he hits. I know he can defend. Marcelo Meyer, is he going to be above a 90 WRC plus? Because that's what the projections have him at. Not so sure. And Carlos Narvaez, there's stuff in his profile that doesn't necessarily make me feel confident that he can reproduce what he did last year. So I think the lineup would be a concern for me. I have absolutely no concerns about the rotation. I think it's top heavy and deep. I think it's one of the best rotations in Major League Baseball. I think the bullpen is stacked with really, really solid guys. And then you got to roll this Chapman. You got Garrett Whitlock at the top. I think that's one of the best duos. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the American League. But I'm going to have to slightly go under their win total at 87.5.
Overly reliant on the model. I understand. Peter Rapp will never change, man.
They're my numbers.
Are they your numbers or your model?
It's all the data that I put in the model that I value.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So it spits out, and you can't have any human nuance to the model and what it spits out, huh?
I think there's some human nuance in it.
Whatever, man. Okay. Let's go to the Houston Astros here at 86.5. That's their projected win total on BetMGM. How many times this offseason have we talked about them being a little bit closer to a rebuild than I think a lot of people may be expecting? Hater on the IL is a huge deterrent here, so much so that Aram actually leans on the under 86.5 for the Houston Astros. Rotation depth is questioned, lineup depth is questioned, and they're a big player injury away from sailing under, he believes.
I love this under. For all those listening, I love this under. I have them projected at 82-80, which might seem jarring considering the Astros have been a consistent force in Major League Baseball for what feels like a decade. The issue is this current roster leaves a lot to be desired. Jose Altuve at 36 years old. I'm not expecting a big drop-off. I am expecting a slight drop-off, maybe a 760 OPS, 113 WRC+. That's what the projections think. I tend to agree. Isaac Paredes, no problems there. Perfect fit for Minute Maid or Dyken Park now.
Yep.
But will they trade him? I don't know. Does he stay on the team the whole year? It's unclear. Yordan Alvarez rakes, but can he stay healthy? Carlos Correa, love. Can he stay healthy? Joey Loporfido, Cam Smith, and Jake Myers in the outfield. Don't love that. Christian Walker, does he bounce back at 35? He might. What does that bounce back look like? And Yainer Diaz, I think he's got real plate discipline issues. I think he chases too much. I think he swings too much. He doesn't walk enough. So it's basically like, are the balls in play landing or not? It's not a catcher that I want to trust offensively. You look at the rotation. Love Hunter Brown. Christian Javier has to stay healthy, and he's seen diminished stuff year over year. I still like him, not as much as I used to. Tatsuya Imai. In the first year, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. And what I mean by that is I don't think he's going to give the Astros the innings that they might want. I think it's probably going to be around 130. I don't even think the ERA is going to be under 3, right? That doesn't mean he's a bad pitcher, but we've seen plenty of Japanese pitchers come over, and their first season isn't what we all imagined. Will he get used to Major League Baseball? Will he get used to pitching every 5th day? Yes. And I think ultimately he'll be a good player. This year, I'm not so sure. Mike Burrows, I think, is solid, but he hasn't given us a full season, so I don't know really what to expect. Projection systems having a 4.11 ERA over 137 innings. I think that's fair. Lance McCullers
it's going to be a damn fun 4.11 if that's what he's projected at.
It could be, right? But
yeah.
Again, it could be visually pleasing, but will it lead to wins? We'll see. Lance McCullers Jr., I don't know. I don't even think Astros fans know. And Ryan Weiss, fine addition in the 6th starter. Again, there's not a lot to hold on to. And when Josh Hader starts the year on the IL, bullpen gets a little bit weaker because the Astros bullpen right now is really strong at the top. When you have Hader and you have Abreu and you have King, you have a really, really solid, one of the best in baseball, back ends of the bullpen. After that, not great. Jeremy Pena, fractured finger. Ronel Blanco, Brandon Walter, Hayden Wesneski, all getting Tommy John. It just feels like this is finally the year that they take a step back. And last year they overperformed, right? If you look at the standings from last year, they won 27-17 in 1-run games. We know, I've noted that metric a ton. Tends to regress back to average. Those are more luck metrics. Now, if you have a great bullpen, you can withstand that. But I don't know if this is a great bullpen. I think it's a great back end. I don't know how great the bullpen actually is. And even when we look at run differential from last year, plus 21, they were projected based on that run differential to go 83-79. So if I'm at 82-80, some slight drawbacks, I think that's a fair number. I love the under.
Okay, fair. And again, Josh Hader out. Who knows how long he will be out at the outset of the year? Could be a couple weeks, could be north of a month. We shall see. Let's push to the Baltimore Orioles here. The over-under is set at 85.5. They were one of the more active teams this offseason. Arm cites that for an over. He asked why it was so low with a healthy Gunnar Henderson, Pete Alonso added for lineup protection. Pitching is a big one for him. A healthy Kyle Bradish. He's back. He's looked sharp this spring. Shane Baz was acquired via trade. Chris Bassett brought in via free agency. He feels like there's been enough added in the rotation, in the bullpen, and in the lineup to push them over that total of 85.5.
So I'm going to disagree with Arm again, and I'm going to take the under. I have them projected for 84 wins, but I also want to make it known to Orioles fans, I still have them as a playoff team. And I think it's easy to forget what happened in Baltimore last year. 75-87. They had a minus 111 run differential. That was worse than the Chicago White Sox, the Minnesota Twins, the Athletics, the Marlins, the Cardinals, and the Pirates. They were one of the worst teams in baseball last year. Now, did they make improvements getting Pete Alonso? Taylor Ward? Absolutely. I like this lineup. I'm giving them a lot of leeway here. Do I like the starting rotation? Yeah. I think I'm bullish on Trevor Rogers. I obviously love Kyle Bradish. I've loved Kyle Bradish for a while now. I think Chris Bassett is a solid fill-in. I think Shane Baz has potential to be, a frontline guy. I think Zach Eflin is fine at the bottom of your rotation. And Dean Kramer, it's a deep rotation. The bullpen scares me. I know they added Ryan Helsley, but they were 25th in ERA last year. I don't think Ryan Helsley is the Band-Aid. I think they need more Band-Aids. Just Ryan Helsley, like Keegan Aiken, Yennier Cano, Dietrich Enns, Rico Garcia, Grant Wolfram, Tyler Wells, who I love. They already have some injuries with Jackson Holiday, hamate surgery on his right hand, Jordan Westberg, partially torn elbow ligament. I like the lineup. I don't think it's going to finish 21st in OPS. I don't think that the starting rotation is going to finish 24th in ERA. I think it's going to still be not that great of a bullpen. And I think that something people are overlooking too is that the Orioles were not a good defensive team last year. Again, 23rd in defensive value, 24th in defensive runs saved, 23rd in outs above average, 24th in fielding run value. Now, what I will say is much improved, right? They won 77 games last year. Expected win-loss from their run differential was 70 wins. And I haven't projected at 84. I feel bullish. The market is too bullish. That's all I'm saying here. 85.5 is a little bit too high. That's reserved for some of the best teams in the league. They're a very good team. I think they're a playoff team. Like on the outside looking in right there, third or second wildcard spot. It's a big jump from finishing in last and having one of the worst run differentials in the sport. But this is too high. Give me the under.
Let's move to the back half of the league in a moment. But whoosh. All right, pushing to a team with an identical win total to that of the Baltimore Orioles. This is the Detroit Tigers. They are set at 85.5. The Tigers are. They clearly have a front two and a dominant front two in Tarek Skubal and Framber Valdez. But Aram leans over on Detroit. He does that because of the dominant front two, what the bullpen can be, and A.J. Hench being the puppet master of the bullpen that has been darn good over the last couple of years. And then the lineup as well, just getting even further into the development of this lineup. And obviously he brought up the name Mr. Kevin McGonigal, who was scratched from spring breakout. He could very well be still competing for a big league job heading into the final weekend of spring.
So this one's tough. I have the Tigers projected at 85 wins. So that's telling me to take the under because it's at 85. You want to talk about human ability? I'm taking the over.
Okay.
I'm taking the over here on the Detroit Tigers. I think Arm's right. I think they could have one of the best rotations in the American League. When you have Tarek Skubal, enough said. Framber Valdez, enough said. Jack Flaherty as your 3 now is pretty damn solid. Casey Mize and Justin Verlander I like. Now, there's not a ton of depth, but when 2 of your 5 guys are top 20 pitchers in baseball and your third is a really solid starter, professional pitcher who knows how to win games, and he's still just 30 years old, you're going to win a lot of games. You're going to be favored in a lot of games. And I like the offense because I don't really see a negative in the lineup. Now you could say, well, Parker Meadows, right? He had a tough year last year. He was hurt. I still think he's got a lot of talent. And the good thing is he has a high floor defensively. And he's still just 26 years old. Could he put up the 93 WRC plus that he's projected for? I think so. McKinstry, perfectly fine. Is the 8th hitter. Dylan Dingler, really solid catcher. Colt Keith, Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, Gleyber Torres, and then, of course, the emergence of Kevin McGonigal. Now, among all rookies who are probably going to debut this year, is there a safer bat than McGonigal? Now, you could say, well, Connor Griffin, he has certainly more upside. But in terms of the highest floor among any of the guys yet to debut, I think that's Kevin McGonigal. And then in the bullpen, I think it's really, really solid. Brought in Kenley Jansen, who just continues to save games, but Will Vest, we saw him for Team USA. I think he's an underrated reliever. Kyle Finnegan could be a closer. Tyler Holton is excellent. And then they have other guys like Brant Herter, Brendan Hanafy, Drew Anderson. These are guys where in some other bullpens, you might be relying on them in the 6th and the 7th. But for the Tigers, they have the luxury of having them in the 4th and 5th when other guys need a rest. It's a deep bullpen. It's a sound rotation. And it's a sound lineup managed by one of the best managers in Major League Baseball. So when my win total projection is so close, it's actually like 85.3. I'm going to take the over here, even though I rounded down to 85. I'm with Aram. Give me the over on the Detroit Tigers.
Okay, let's push to the Texas Rangers here. The Texas Rangers, their win total is set at 83.5. If I'm not mistaken, the Rangers did go under this total last year. It was also a disappointing year for the Texas Rangers. They bring in Mackenzie Gore. Before I get to Aram's reasoning, Mike Maddox is no longer a part of the Rangers coaching staff, which was a little weird. Of course, it's an entirely new regime. Bruce Bochy is out. Skip Schumacher is the new manager of the Texas Rangers, but Mike Maddox was arguably the most impressive pitching coach in Major League Baseball last year, taking that cast of characters in an abbreviated season from Nathan Eovaldi and turning in the best staff ERA in Major League Baseball. Now I get to Aram's line of thinking, and he aligns pretty similarly. He's got the under 83.5. This lineup looks to be improved, but it seems like the rotation and bullpen, the name value is there in spurts, but he just feels like the top end talent may not necessarily push them over that 83.5.
I disagree with Aram here. I'm on the over. I have them projected for 85 wins. So 83.5, I have a win and a half difference. So I think the Rangers were one of the more unlucky teams in Major League Baseball last season. They went 81-81, but they had a plus 79 run differential. That was better than the Seattle Mariners, the Detroit Tigers, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Their expected win-loss record based on that run differential was 90-72. Now, those are just last year's results. I look at this current roster and I think to myself, yeah, I think this is the year where they're a playoff team, or at least around there. I like the addition of Brandon Nimmo, right? The Texas Rangers were one of the best defensive teams in baseball. They could afford to lose Marcus Semion's second base defense and put in a above average bat like Brandon Nimmo. The year 3 jump for Wyatt Langford, we've already seen him destroy spring training pitching. Now, do spring training results ultimately lead to great seasons? No. But is this a trend for Wyatt Langford that he just continues to get better and better and better? And I remember last year, everyone wanted to crown him MVP. And then he just got better. And now people are like, the hype has faded a little bit. Not for me. I think Wyatt Langford could be one of the best players in the American League. Corey Seager, it's all about health. Dude's one of the best players in baseball. Jake Berger, what does he give us this year? Is it better or worse than last year? I'm going to go with better because it was not good last year, and he is better than that, and he's still under 30 years old. Jock Peterson literally couldn't be worse, or he can't be worse. Evan Carter, right? He's still 23 years old. What is he going to give us this year? Again, probably better than last year, since last year was kind of a lost year for him. Josh Young, I could say the same thing. And they did lose Marcus Semien, but you slot in Josh Smith, who is one of the better utility men in baseball, fits really well at second base. I think the move from Semien to Smith is not a downgrade. I think it's more of a lateral move. And then the rotation is awesome. Yes, awesome. Nathan Eovaldi. Yes, please. Jacob deGrom. Yes, please. Mackenzie Gore, you know how bullish I am on him. I know I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think Mackenzie Gore could be the ace when it's all said and done. And that doesn't mean Eovaldi or deGrom dropping off at all. I just think Mackenzie Gore has Cy Young upside. I think Jack Leiter takes a step this year. And Jacob Last is just a solid fifth starter. Now, the bullpen, I don't think it's going to perform like it did last year, finishing 5th in ERA, 3rd in WHIP. But how much worse does it get? Does it drop into the bottom half of the league? I don't think so. So I see a above average bullpen. I see a well above average rotation. And I see an offense with a ton of upside and a good defensive team. I think this team is well-rounded. I love the addition of bringing Skip Schumacher in, who won Manager of the Year with the Miami Marlins. I think it's a well-run organization that come deadline time, if they're competing, will go out and add. Nobody expected them to get Mackenzie Gore, and yet they did. This team wants it. They see that there is a lane open in the American League. I think the Rangers are going to surprise some people this year. I really do. I think, right, you got the Yankees, you got the Blue Jays, you got the Red Sox, you got the Tigers, you got the Mariners. I'm taking the Rangers over the Orioles. That's what I will say. And maybe that means the Orioles on the outside looking in, but I'm really bullish on the Rangers this year. I didn't bet on them, but I did it a different way, which you will see in my superlatives video coming out later this week.
Interesting. Okay. Next team that we got to go over here is the Kansas City Royals. Their over-under win total set at 82.5. Aram takes the firm over. Reasoning, young players take a big step forward. A Michael Garcia, who just came off World Baseball Classic MVP. Vinny Pasquantino building on a great year in 2025. Jack Caglione taking a huge step forward, and obviously Carter Jensen being in the fold for an entire season. He also wanted to cite the sneaky acquisitions in the bullpen. Matt Strahm came over as a change of scenery guy from Philadelphia. Nick Mears in the Angel Serpa deal. Mears comes to Kansas City from Milwaukee. And then Alex Lang also signs a free agent deal. He was previously with the Detroit Tigers and has been hurt for the last bit. Alex Lang has. He also wanted to cite Isaac Collins and Starling Marte. These guys elevate the floor, it seems like, of this lineup. So he is on the over.
I'm on the under.
Okay.
I don't like it at all, but I'm on the under. I project them at 81 and 81. And I was surprised to see my numbers come up with that. And then even the way you're explaining it, and we were talking with Elijah Evans too, about how he liked the Royals, and there's a focus on young players. When you were going through the lineup, or not you, these were Arm's explanations. Of the 4 players he named, 2 are rookies. Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione. What do these leaps look like for Carter Jensen? What does a leap look like for a rookie catcher? Is he immediately a 3-win player? That's a bullish take for a catcher in year 1. What does Jack Caglione do after not performing at all in a brief cup of coffee? Is it a huge step? Is it 30 to 35 home runs and he's one of the better sluggers in the American League? Or is the likely scenario that he deals with up and down stretches? There's a lot of whiff in there, and he's able to crush 20 home runs. But is it this incredible offensive profile? I don't think so. And he said Michael Garcia taking a step forward from last year. How much better is he going to get? Last year, he put up a 5.6 F4. If he gets better, is he like challenging Bobby Witt Jr. for one of the best players in the league? I love Michael Garcia. I don't think he takes a step forward. I think you probably get a slight step back. I still think he's a 4.5, 5-win player. I still think he's really solid. Well, does he replicate that? I don't think so. And then I look at the rest of the lineup. I think Vinny P is solid. I just don't know where the upside is. Like, is it a 140 WRC plus? I don't think so. Salvi, what is he doing at 36 years old? He just said he might feel good enough to retire. That's a guy hitting in your middle of the lineup. I don't like hearing that. Obviously, I love Salvi, and I want him to say what he wants, and he's just coming off a World Baseball Classic. I'm so happy for him. But if I'm projecting the Royals out, is there a little lack of motivation there? Might be the case. I don't know. But just based on the age curve, I could project some natural regression. Jonathan India. I mean, he can't defend. Is he an average hitter by WRC plus? And Isaac Collins, the Brewers were willing to trade him away for a reliever. How good is he going to be at 28 years old when a rookie breaks out at 27, 28?
How good is Angel Serpa going to be? That's the big disclaimer here.
Yeah.
Angel Serpa could be a freaking dog, and he looked like a freaking dog for Venezuela.
But that doesn't help the Royals win total because you just lost on Angel Serpa. And then in the rotation, I love Reagans. I hope he can stay healthy. Michael Wacha, I think, is the most underrated pitcher in Major League Baseball. This guy posts like a 3.5 ERA over 150 innings for like the last half decade. I like Michael Wacha. I think he's solid. Bubic, need you to stay on the field. When he's on, he's great. What is the likelihood that both Reagans and Bubic pitch the entire year? Probably not that high. I want it to be the case, but it's probably not that high. Seth Lugo, I think we're just seeing natural regression. I said when he signed that extension, I didn't like it. I've stayed consistent throughout. It hasn't looked great. Noah Cameron, underlying numbers, didn't love him. I liked him when he pitched. Thought he has a really good changeup. I think he's a solid pitcher. Is he going to pitch to an ERA under 3 next year? No. Is it probably going to be a 4-2-0 like the projections say? Yeah, probably. Now, I got nothing on the bullpen. I think the bullpen is so good. They're a good defensive team. I think they're going to underwhelm. I think if a lot of what you're saying comes to fruition, yes, they will easily go over. But I think betting on rookies, betting on pitchers who haven't proven that they can stay healthy is not a recipe for success. Unfortunately, I got to take the under.
I think outside of the bullpen, you hit every single name on the roster resource, lineup, bench, and rotation outside of Nick Lofton. Did I hear you say Nick Lofton?
Love Nick Lofton.
I think you had bingo on mentioning the entire roster in that rundown. So good on you.
Is that would you prefer that I spoke less about each team? Because this one's a tough one. I really wanted to dive into this one because how do I explain this? The Royals are more exciting on paper than they are in real life. So the more I talk through it, the more I can rationalize the under. But when I just look at the roster on paper and I think Cags could be awesome. I think Carter Jensen hits the living piss out of baseballs. There are a lot of fun players on this team. But this year, I think they could run into issues. I don't think it's all going to click this year. And I think it's easy to forget that the Kansas City Royals were 82-80 last year, plus 14 run differential. There's not a lot pointing to any fact that they got unlucky or anything like that. I just don't know how much they improved. I really don't.
Yep. All right, let's push to the Cleveland Guardians here. The Cleveland Guardians last year stormed back to win the American League Central. Their over-under win total is set under 500 at 79.5. Aram has the under on 79.5, and his Guardian reasoning, what is their strength? I think that's a totally valid point. It seems like their position of strength is just kind of been zapped when you look at Cleveland, and the omission of Emmanuel Clase is humongous here. All of a sudden, you take Cade Smith and Clase and just turn it into Cade Smith at this point. They churn and they find valuable relievers, but the bullpen all of a sudden is looking a little bit more human and maybe not the best in baseball. The rotation doesn't look that sharp, and the lineup outside of J-Ram does not look that damn sharp, man.
Yeah, kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I have the Guardians projected for 76 wins, which is getting pretty damn close to warranting a bet for me. I have been on the Guardians train pretty much every single season that we've had this podcast. And when I say pretty much, I have been on the Guardians train every single season. I love this team. But sometimes you're not going to get lucky year in and year out. Last year, they won 88 games, 88-74. They had a -6 run differential. -6.
Guard ball.
But how long can guard ball last? Because again, you could talk about Stephen Kwan, you could talk about Jose Ramirez. Love them both. But then who's going to step up as the third best hitter on this team? Is it Bo Naylor? Could be. Is it Chase DeLauder? Could be. Kyle Manzardo? Could be. Those names don't jump off the paper. And then you get to the starting rotation. Gavin Williams, you and I both like him. Arm likes him too. Underlying metrics didn't. I don't really know how to project him out. I think he's going to be better than the projections say, but I just don't know how much better. Bybee, I think, is really solid. Ciccone, I'm not in love with. Doesn't strike out a lot of guys. Stuff isn't great. Not a huge fan of him. I think he's a back of the rotation guy. I think he's fine pitcher, but at the 3 spot, I'm not so sure. Logan Allen, I kind of feel the same way about. And Joey Cantillo, I just don't know how many innings he's going to throw. Right? 95 was his career high in the major leagues. In the minor leagues, a career high of 119. Is he going to give you 140, 150 this year? I find that hard to believe. And then in the bullpen, I think it's solid, but I don't think it's as unbelievable as it's been in prior years that can save some of these starters when they don't go deep into games. So I think there are problems in the rotation. I think there are some problems in the bullpen, and I think the offense leaves a lot to be desired. Now, Guardians fans might be shocked that their win total is at 79.5 after winning 88 games last year. However, again, if you just regress their record to their run differential, they would have gone 80 and 82 last year. Ultimately, there will be a year where the luck runs out. 2 years ago, they were a 76-win team. I think we're going to see similar to that, what they were 2 or 3 years ago. I think that's what we see this season, so I'm going to take the under. Agreeing with Arm.
We shall see. Again, Arm took the under 79.5 for the Cleveland Guardians. The Tampa Bay Rays are the next team, and Arm keeps this actually pretty simple. The Tampa Bay Rays, their total is set at 77.5. He simply said, I think they got worse. And I will try and lay out the roster changes for you to exemplify that. Shane Baz is gone. Brandon Lau is gone. Mangum is gone. Meisner is gone. I'm not citing Mangum and Meisner as like net positives for the Major League Baseball team, but like at the end of the day, you take irons in the fire out of the fire. It seems like an over-reliance on Caminero and Yandy Diaz at this point. There could be a couple other guys that jump out here, but that lineup is just not very intimidating, man, outside of Junior. I'll be totally honest with you.
Jonathan Aranda is certainly intimidating.
Aranda is very, very good. He's very, very high floor, but I think about guys that can kick your ass in one given night. I think that list stops at Caminero and Yandy Diaz. But if you want to throw Aranda in there, I'm totally in.
I think Aranda might be a better hitter than Yandy Diaz. But, okay, so you have those three. I think Cedric Mullins is going to – they have a lot of fine hitters.
You think Cedric Mullins is good? Like, Cedric Mullins was really bad with the Mets last year after the deadline.
I think he's fine. Like, last year, he was a 94 WRC plus guy, 1.3 F WAR. Again, I think he's fine. I'm not running to tell you that Cedric Mullins is awesome. I think he's fine. And I see a lot of that in the lineup. Jake Fraley, I think, is fine. I think Gavin Lux is fine. Carson Williams, I'm excited for. We'll see. Chandler Simpson provides some speed. It's not a great lineup. Is it a bad lineup, though? When you have Yandy and you have Aranda and you have Junior Caminero and you have a couple of veterans that are fine hitters, it's not great. I don't think it's that bad either. And then you go to the rotation and it starts to get a lot sexier. I mean, Drew Rasmussen is a great arm. The problem is he going to be healthy? I don't know. But I know when he's on the field, he's obviously excellent. Ryan Pepiot, another solid guy. Shane McClanahan, hard to know. Nick Martinez provides an element of giving them a slightly higher floor. And Steven Matz, also pretty solid. They have a good farm system. They're going to call guys up throughout the year. And the bullpen, Jax, Clevenger, Brian Baker, Mason Englert, Hunter Biggie, Ian Seymour. It's a pretty good bullpen. It's a pretty good rotation with a ton of upside. And it's a fine lineup. Again, I'm not running to the window to bet the Rays, but I haven't projected at 78 wins. And I also look at last year's results. They were 77 and 85, but they finished with a plus 31 run differential. That was better than the Royals last year. Projected win-loss record of 84 and 78. So I'm going to go with this slide over. I like the Rays a little bit, right? I'm not running to the window, but I think 77.5 is a little bit too low.
Totally fair. All right, home stretch when we come back. Let's talk Sacktown. The Oakland A's, Sacramento A's, future Vegas A's. The A's have a projected win total of 75.5. This is a lineup that just locked up a lot of guys long-term, and you're banking on a lot of pitching because they could not do that last year. They could hit, they couldn't pitch. At that ballpark, you're going to need to find just enough pitching. Arms on the over, 75.5. And the reasoning there, obviously the lineup is outstanding and young and can continue to burst onto the scene. Kurtz looks like one of the best young hitters in Major League Baseball, and the complementary pieces are totally there. They extended Wilson. You already have Soderstrom on an extension and Lawrence Butler on an extension as well. But how about the pitching? Arm loves the pitching depth here. Guys like Braden Nett, Jack Perkins, a couple other guys. And then a big one, I'll add this guy, Luis Severino looking as good as he did in the World Baseball Classic was a sight to see, man. I don't know if he's totally bought into his Sacramento night, like when he has to start on Tuesday against the Angels. What does it look like compared to DR United States? But Sevy looked very healthy and very sharp in the World Baseball Classic.
He did. I just don't know if he's going to be throwing 99 miles an hour like he was in the World Baseball Classic. And I think that's where my concerns start. Because I have no concerns with the lineup. They rake. However, they don't do anything else. They don't steal bases. They finished 27th in stolen bases last year, and they were a bottom 5 defensive team in Major League Baseball, 24th in defensive value, 25th in defensive run saved, 22nd in outs above average, 22nd in fielding run value, right? So they all hit. They don't run the bases well, and they don't defend. And then I look at the starting rotation, and I think it could get real bad. I don't see anyone in the rotation finishing with an ERA below 3. Or, excuse me, below 4. Severino, no. Springs, no. Savali, no. Lopez, no. And Morales, no. I think it could be one of the worst starting rotations in baseball. And then I look at the bullpen. Who do you trust? Is it Hogan Harris, their projected closer? Excuse me. I need to get a sip of water.
Yeah. I mean, Sterner is in there as well. Sterner had a pretty damn good year last year. Hogan Harris had a damn good year as well. But I think you're banking on like bounce backs from a guy like Mark Leiter or Scott Barlow. And then again, like there are some guys in the minor leagues that are throwing hard, much like, pretty much every other bullpen situation in Major League Baseball. But a guy like Eduardo Nunez, right? You just hope that he continues to shove and he gets like a little bit better at finding the strike zone. I like a bullpen is a little bit more plug and play-ish to me than I want to. Like, I don't just want to brand a bullpen as bad, because there are plenty of bullpens that, burst onto the scene or take a serious step back over the course of a given year.
So here's how I view the A's. The A's are a beautifully wrapped present under the Christmas tree. Thank you, our national pastime, saying we're awesome. We try our best. They're a beautifully wrapped Christmas present under the tree, and you run down the stairs. It's Christmas morning. You see a big package, and you ask your parents, "What is that?" They say, "We'll open it up." And you're excited. It's wrapped beautifully, big box. You're hoping, what could be in here? And then you open it, and it's stacks of books. That's how I view the A's.
I love to read, so that's a great gift.
Yeah. For you, not for the rest.
Let me ask you, when was the last time you read a book cover to cover?
Been a minute.
Like, define been a minute.
Let's get back to the A's. So
no.
The A's,
I want an answer, because for me, like, cover to cover, hardcover book, like it's been a while. I serially get 75% through a book, and then I just don't finish because I get sidetracked.
So back to the A's.
All right. Tells me you don't read a page.
I think I read Roster Resource. That's plenty. The A's, again, their lineup is going to hit. They're not going to run the bases. They're not going to defend. They're not going to pitch in the starting rotation, and they're not going to pitch in the bullpen. That makes me worried. There's a lot of hype surrounding this team. I think, again, it's a present, and you're going to open it up, and you're not going to like what you see. I have them projected at 74 wins. It's not like I'm running, again, to the window to bet the under, but I am under. I don't want to be under because this team is fun. Like, look, this lineup is like this lineup's sick.
Yeah.
Kurtz, Langeliers, Soderstrom, Rooker, McNeil, Wilson, Butler, even Muncy, and Denzel Clark can't hit anything, but he at least will help you defensively. Like, he's one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. He's one of the best defenders, period. Outside of them hitting, I think they're going to lose a lot of high scoring games, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm on the under.
Gotcha. Okay. 3 more teams we've got here. Let's go to the Minnesota Twins. I already know where Peter lies. The Minnesota Twins projected over under is 72.5 wins. Aram has the over He cites the youth up there or knocking on the door. Youth knocking on the door, notably Emmanuel Rodriguez and Walker Jenkins, when and if they are healthy. Also, pitching wise, it seems like Minnesota has some serious depth in guys like Zebby Matthews, Mick Abel, Andrew Morris as well. No Pablo Lopez is certainly a big one, but Taj Bradley is up there. Could he take a step forward? He also wants to cite held on to vets, but do they trade them? Question mark. I think that's a fair claim. Like, you ask yourself that question about Joe Ryan and Buxton and some of those guys. It seems like they're staying put. The vets they signed raise the floor and lower the variance and likelihood. And some of the vets that you can cite, Josh Bell was brought in on a 1-year deal. Victor Caratini was brought in on a 1-year deal. Taylor Rogers was brought in. Anthony Bonda was a waiver claim. They brought in some vets to complement a good team, or to complement a young team.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep this one short. I've been talking about why everyone should take the Twins. I already posted it as one of my win totals. I think the Twins roster has 80 wins written all over them. Again, it's all relative to the market. I have them projected at 78 wins, which again, right, it's not making the playoffs. It's falling below 500. But this win total is an embarrassment. And the reason that the win total is so low is because everybody just assumed that they sold off every single piece. But they cut that down halfway through and they said, well, let's go for it. And now it's pricing in organizational chaos, which I don't care about. I care who's on the field. And now Aram talked about the youth movement. That'd be great if they contribute. I don't even care if they do, because I think their current roster, their guys in the lineup, they have 7 guys projected for a WRC plus above 100. 7 of them. Now, it's not, they don't have stars throughout, well, except Buxton, but it's like these guys like Wallner and Caratini and Larnick and Jeffers, Bell. These aren't sexy names, but they're like 104 WRC plus guys. And then could Luke Keyshaw break out? What is Royce Lewis? Can't be worse than last year.
Yeah.
And we know that he has top end potential. Does he reach there? I don't know. The good thing is the Twins' current lineup has enough to overcome the ups and downs that are inevitably going to come from Royce Lewis. Arm already talked about the depth of the starting rotation. Losing Pablo Lopez stinks, obviously. But the good thing is Twins' rotation can overcome it. Bullpen,
Yeah.
But we're looking at a 72.5 win total. They don't have to be perfect. They don't even have to be at 500. They don't even have to be above 75 wins. They could go 73 and 89 or whatever it is. Definitely over.
Gotcha.
My favorite over that we've gone over so far.
Dig it. All right, 2 more teams that we have to go over right now. Second to last team that we have to discuss in the American League on the win totals episode. The Angels, the LA Angels win total is set at 70.5. Aram believes that they are not worse than they were last year. Notably, Taylor Ward is out of the equation, but they get Grayson Rodriguez back, and Rodriguez is mighty intriguing. He's going to be in the opening day rotation. Neto is a burgeoning somewhere between star and superstar. Like, he's too good to be a star, not good enough to be a superstar just yet. Healthy Trout, you hope that it's a healthy year. Shonowell takes another step forward. And by the way, Taylor Ward out, Josh Lowe is in. That rotation has a couple more warm bodies than they did last year with Soriano, Kikuchi, Detmers, G-Rod, maybe Kohanowitz in the rotation, Klassen at some point. We'll see if Caden Dana is there. We'll see if Aldegari is there at some point. And then the bullpen, they added a ton of guys, man. Kirby Yates on a 1-year deal. Drew Pomerantz, Jordan Romano, Brent Suter, Nick Sandlin. They all signed free agent deals this go around. And then not even mentioning a young bat of Christian Moore. He really does not believe that they are worse than they were last year.
I think they were lucky to win 72 games last year. So while the talent on paper might be a little bit better, I think there's going to be some natural regression. They went 72 and 90 last year, but they went 28 and 21 in 1-run games. Was it because they have a great bullpen? No. I think it's because they got lucky. And another reason I could point to luck is they had a negative 164 run differential. That was double the A's from last year, but they only finished with 4 fewer wins. Their expected win-loss record was 65 and 97. And then I look at the roster. I really like Zach Neto. You love Mike Trout. I'm losing air here. Then I look at the rotation. I like Jose Soriano. I think Reed Detmers could be solid. I'm excited to see what Grayson does. And I like Yusei Kikuchi. It's not a bad rotation. The bullpen is kind of a grab bag, but I don't mind it. But this team is awful defensively. Like the worst. 30th in defensive value last year, 30th in outs above average, and they did not improve that at all. Relievers finished 28th in ERA. Starting pitching finished 28th in ERA. Offense finished 23rd in OPS. And I don't see how they got a lot better or even better at all. I think it probably stayed around the same. So I have them projected. Again, that was a harsh statement. They're at 70.5. I project 69. I'm on the under.
Okay. Last but not least, the lowest projected win total in the American League belongs to the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox projected win total sits at 67.5. Aram Leighton is on the under. Things are getting better, but not 8 wins better is his justification for this. And understandably so. Notable additions this offseason: Austin Hayes signed a free agent deal. Munetaka Murakami signed a free agent deal as well. Anthony Kay they bring over from Japan. And then they signed Sir Anthony Dominguez as well to a free agent deal. Sean Newcomb is in the fold as well. They take Jettison Paez in the Rule 5 draft. Aside from that, Jordan Hicks, how good is he actually? Chris Murphy, they bring him in via trade. How good is he actually? Fetty, Everson Pereira, Luis Angel Acuna, and Acuna comes in for Luis Robert Jr. So you take Robert out of the fold. You add Murakami, who could struggle this year. We shall see. He feels like they did trend forward, but 8 wins and an 8-win improvement is a big improvement year over year.
Here's the thing. Luis Angel Acuna, switch hitter. Chris Getz told me that 4 or 5 times. Does that change Aram's evaluation?
I don't know. It actually might dock Acuna a little bit more, considering that we were deceived, bamboozled, hoodwinked. What other words does Stephen A. use?
Yeah, I think you caught them all. Again, I disagree. So Aram makes an interesting point. Did they get 8 wins better? I think they could stay the exact same and just have better luck on their side. They had a negative 95 run differential last year. So did the Twins. The Twins won 70 games. White Sox won 60. Both of them were projected to go 71 and 91 last year. So if they just get some general luck on their side, which I believe to be the case, considering they went 15 and 36 in one-run games last year. It's an anomaly, right? The Angels went 28 and 21. Ask yourself, whose bullpen was better? Is your answer the Angels? By how much? It was an anomaly. They got unlucky, and they still won 60 games. When I took them over 52.5 wins last year, I was watching so many White Sox games down the stretch. Like I was talking to Elijah at the World Baseball Classic. I was like, outside of White Sox fans, I think I personally watch more White Sox games than anybody else, just because I was sweating them the whole time. And I know they got unlucky a lot. It's not just in the numbers. I saw it with my own eyes. And I look at this lineup. It is pretty young, but again, relative to market. And it's funny how my tone shifts on a team. I have the Angels and the White Sox projected for the same amount of wins. I gave the reason why I'm on the under for the Angels and why I'm going to give the over on the White Sox, but I have them graded as similar teams. And a big reason why is the White Sox are a slightly better defensive team. I think they have the slightly better bullpen, especially with Grant Taylor. I think he's going to emerge as one of the better arms in the American League in a bullpen, but they also brought in Sir Anthony Dominguez. I like Jordan Leisure as well. Sean Newcomb is a professional arm. They even brought in like Jordan Hicks, who can he throw 100 again? I have no idea, but he's also like the 5th arm in their bullpen. And it's a lot of young guys playing with nothing to lose. Like the Angels lineup It's a lot of guys who have been in the league for a really long time. I'm not running to the window to go bet them when I know they're bad defensively, when I know they don't have a great rotation, I know they don't have a great bullpen. I feel the opposite way about the White Sox. I think luck is going to be on their side this year. It has to be. Like, natural regression is going to come. So I have them projected again at 69 wins. I'm not slamming the over, but at 67.5, that would be my recommendation.
That's our program, folks. That was all 15 teams in the American League, 15 teams in the National League tomorrow. Until tomorrow, take us out.
So that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Thank you to all of you joining in the middle of March Madness. I know it wasn't the best time considering games tipped off today, but really appreciate everybody joining. And if you did enjoy, the best way to support the Just Baseball Show, make sure you smash the like button and hit that big red subscribe button. And on top of that, if you want to go get yourself some Just Baseball merch just in time for opening day, make sure to hit that link in the episode description. And if you want to join the best baseball group chat in the world, the link is also in the episode description. Those are our win totals. The Peter Apple Book Club would do numbers. Yeah, the problem is each book, like I had to sign a book and we'd get around to it in like 2029. So it'd be one of the longest recorded book clubs in the history of the world.
That's a 3-year window that you have, though.
Also, you're giving me shit for reading. You also said 75% of a book and then you get distracted. Like, is reading
I haven't
75%
finished one. When's the last time you opened one?
I just opened Ross Resource. There's so many words on there. I'm building out a model. I don't have time to read fictional stories.
Claude's building out a model.
I am inputting the data into the model.
Do the thank you, everybody thing.
And with that, thank you, everybody.